Oh my goodness, that was really weird. Hello, this is video number 3. My name is Kate, and you've hopped onto Turn Energy Awakens Naturally. If you were watching the video before, I was trying to say dress right dress. That and I'll just keep going. If you're just now plugging in, we're talking about feathers and symbology of the feather to me as an empath and an intuitive, clairvoyant, channeler, medium, etc., psychic, whatever. I am able to interpret and be empathic about energy that's around me and looking at symbology in my environment. And I was talking about this pristine white feather that to me represents dress right dress is, you're not going to be able to do sacred geometry and have some obtuse, angles that are not properly fitted. You have to have your right angle, right geometry to get through to the sacred geometry. And to me, this white feather represents that it's the absolute truth that is, okay, without variance. It's the absolute truth. It's the gravity principle. It's the the aerodynamics and the astrophysics kind of thing. It's the truth principle. All right. And then of whatever it is, the absolute truth, law of attraction, those kinds of things, universal truth, if you will, if that might help. Sorry, I feel like I might be okay. Yeah, getting a little bit off track. That this is representative of absolute truth, whatever it is, one of those universal laws that really can't be broken, that what you put out you get back, what goes up comes down, those kinds of things. Karma, that our purest self is nothing except our purest self and doesn't have an identity. That's why it can be pure and not have any of this other stuff with it. Because without our bodies wrapping around our little nugget of divinity, we are God frequency, God equation, divinity, spirit, ancestors, whatever you call all of that, religion, spirituality, etc. This right here, to me, as I was walking and looking and picking up the feather symbology today, was that this was representative of that God equation and that nugget within me. And every single person, I believe, has this magic in them, whatever it's called, wherever it's born. Its identity does not matter because it's gender neutral. The frequency and the energy of each individual person, that God equation, that however we came to be walking on 2 feet or not, however we choose to identify or not, that energy coming from outer space or heaven or whatever you call the sacred, place that creative genius is born and turned into human beings and animal life and plant life, etc., here on earth, that is pure. There is no gender. There are no labels, etc., because it's higher frequency, higher consciousness, etc. So that is pure. And the black feather, representative of everything that this would not be, right? I mean, if it's not this, then it's going to be everything else. So that's kind of, if you're not working for the good and the right. Good can be very subjective, so I'm careful how I use that word. If you're not working right angle right, then you're doing something else. Okay? I mean, it's just as simple as that. It's just varying degrees of how much, not dress right dress are you. Are you really ganked up there, silly Platoon? Or are you just a couple of little soldiers away from, a couple of little steps of having a perfect drill and ceremony? It really depends. So, and I'm not making a comment one way or the other. I'm just saying that, none of us are going to walk in divine light 24/7. We're human beings and we're fallible. That's absolutely true. And it would be ridiculous to believe that, we're going to live in this 24/7 also, because we don't have to. We can live over here predominantly very dark and obtuse and very, unwilling to even think about this, and the more we hang out in this dense closet of kind of not feeling good, negative, low vibe stuff, and making some, janky decisions, and janky decisions are made our way, it's going to be more difficult to call in this or even believe that this exists, because everywhere we look is I found this feather, and it was head down, and it's covered in dirt. And I don't know, as I said, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but it was like the energy I picked up on it as I looked at it went, wow, that went and piled into the ground whenever it hit. I mean, it looked like a missile had just gone into the ground with it. That was the image I got. The energy of it was like someone just taking a nosedive and covered and, dirty, and it's wet, and like it's dried now, but you can see that it was wet and just, kind of beat up looking. So upside the very pristine, came on the same 20 or 30 minute walk in the same, mile, half a mile, however fast I can walk in that amount of time. I don't remember. I think it's about a mile. But so, same area that here's pristine, and this one over here is all kind of cockeyed and, and beat up and drilled into the dirt. And this one in the middle, as I said on my previous video, I'm not a bird specialist or a feather specialist. I know that the energy I read that I'm getting on this is that it's hawk. It may not be an actual hawk feather. Don't know. The energy I'm picking up for my own interpretation of it for me and to put out here on this video is that it's associated with hawk energy, which is very symbolic for me on many levels for many reasons. And so I don't know that this is an actual hawk feather. However, the energy read on it is it's read that as hawk, because that's what's most important, rather than to have you go, trying to Google identify this particular feather. And, sometimes I need to do that. However, today, this is just go with this. This is hawk, and this is representative to me of when we are working with that very purest intention that we want to do the dress right dress drill and ceremony. We want that to be a flawless performance, and it's not going to be even remotely close to flawless or near flawless if we've got a bunch of crazy platoon members that are butt up, covered in dirt, and not even trying or working towards perfecting their game. And they're going to bring the whole team down. Drill and ceremony is done as a team. It's not done as one individual at a time. That's not drill and ceremony. You're doing Michael Jackson or something else. But if you're doing drill and ceremony, you need your whole team. And so you're not going to get there if you have one screw up, even this butt up in the air. And, I look at my own self and all of what I'm doing as I'm my own team. So where my intention is to be doing my, dress right dress and have that snap it up into attention and let's get this looking good, and where do I have some little platoon members who might be butt up going, drilling in. Partied a little bit too much last night. We should have been practicing instead. How about it? Because anywhere where we have this pristine white, there's going to be a very opposite to that. There's just, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if you have an up, then you have a down. There's going to be a polar opposite to it. So where in my life, even though I may be quite pristine, where might there be some areas of not so pristine? And I'm going to get opportunities to visit that when I open myself up to my own divinity and my own understanding of me and my higher consciousness. I'm going to have a chance to come and visit that if I allow that to happen. And I do. It's just I have to be careful with that it doesn't go into, some uncharted territory where I don't know what I'm doing. And that's why I call upon the animal kingdom to please speak to me, and divinity speak to me, and the different angel teams and frequencies and spirit guides that tell me this is how that rolls. And so these two feathers, black, white, we get everybody and we're working pretty tight, then we're going to get a good blend of the intention over here to do everything dress right dress and do our drill and ceremony perfectly. We're going to have some flaws. We're going to have some moments, even a flawless performance isn't going to be flawless because humans are already already flawed. So, it's a human subjective metaphor. It's all subjective. So just get the metaphor and don't land anywhere too long. And if it confuses you, just wait until I get to a point, either hop out or wait till I bring up another point that isn't confusing, and don't try to understand it. If it doesn't fit, don't put it on your foot again. If the shoe doesn't fit, then it doesn't fit. Just go on and keep walking, because there's millions of other shoes to not try. You don't have to try on every shoe that comes by you. Only the one that you think is for you. And if it fits, then you go, thanks, that's mine, and keep on going and let the other stuff go by. However, truth, by the way, Take what you want and leave the rest. I get a little fussy with that one. Take the truth with you always, and definitely leave anything that's not the truth. And that's how I look at that, because that picky choosy of take what you want to and leave the rest, that can turn into, well, that's how I'm going to justify some, my behaviors is I'll take this from that reading, or this from that, sermon, or this from that Bible text, or this from that sacred text, and leave the rest because the part that I don't like doesn't work for me. Well, duh, if I don't want to hear it, then I'm going to be able to leave that part out, and it gets too subjective. So I look at what's the truth, what's the truth of a situation, what's the truth of how I'm feeling, what's the true understanding of universal law, universal principle, not somebody else's interpretation. How do I know? Well, I know that I come at it with my purest intention, that I'm going to have human flaw, and that the blending can happen much more easily whenever I come at it with the more wholesome intention. If I come at something already here, that's busted equation right off the top, that my divinity isn't ever going to leave me. It's not. Human beings, I don't believe in being so possessed and what have you that we can't operate as a divine being at some point. I don't believe that just shuts off, and I don't believe in soulless people and etc. and reptiles and all of that. It's not my thing, because that just doesn't work for me, and it hasn't. I've explored a lot of it, and I just don't believe that that's the way that is. However, I do believe that we can get so shut down in what we know to be true for us that we can be very, very dark, heavy energy and acting as, demons and, possessed beings, loosely understanding that. I don't subscribe to the notion myself, however, that we can be in those very dark and dreary places making horrible decisions. And we do. And that's a place where that vampiric energy sourcing, it's lateral combat, that it continues to go back and forth, and it's not ever even trying to ascend, then it's not going to. Why would it? It can continue to feast amongst itself, then it will. And yes, there is still, the feather is still a part of each person. However, I want my feather to not be bogged down, that other people don't have to go the way that I'm going. They're not required. They can take their feather and be whatever they want to be. That's their free will. However, for me personally, I don't want to keep bringing my white feather into the black feather and saying, look, we need to do drill and ceremony, dress right dress, and make it look, like a good blending of the show. And I have uncooperative platoon members who are telling me, nah, we want to party instead, or we want to do this instead. I'd rather work with more cooperative energy. And energy vampires and people that, are just not working for the good of even really truly themselves. And I'm not talking about narcissistic. I'm talking about, people that even narcissistic personalities and energy vampires aren't really working for themselves. They're working to, meet the need of their anxiety and their power control issue, which, is ultimately they're just enmeshed with themselves and their own toxic energy. So, but they can be quite problematic. Those energies can be quite problematic if we're going to try to play with them. And I don't try to play with those energies or those frequencies, whether they wear bodies or not, really don't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because things can show up in my energy space, whether it's got a human body wrapped around it or not. And so I kindly ask my bubble of magic to protect me, so that I have energy that's very light, wispy, fun, probably belongs to Hawk, yeah, and taking it in as this is definitely Hawk messenger of, this is a lot of power, even though it's very light and wispy, etc. Hawk is a very powerful totem and a very powerful animal that will get the job done and will be very swift in her action. And the more I can stay away from having butt-up experiences with me and my feathers, get all of my little soldiers in my little platoon, let's get everybody at least started out in the same uniform, at the same place, at the same time, with all the same intention, etc. Because ultimately, the divine is not going to change in terms of it going away. I don't believe that it's lost. I just believe we can get very far away from it whenever we're sourcing out to other people too heavily and getting involved in ego, struggle, etc. But the intention, the pure intention to do the best thing for human beings, for humankind, for ourselves and humankind, etc., in a non-narcissistic, vampiric way, truly with the best intention, will clear up a lot of those problems of how can I deal with taking care of all these evilly little, weird parts and get to this. The intention will clean up immeasurably. So I hope that's helped. I'm going to go ahead and stop for now. I don't know why I'm feeling kind of stuttery all of a sudden and like losing my bearing. It's been a very strange day. And the other video that I talked about, there was an anxiety attack with pretty sure some dudes that were thinking they were going to have another victim or a victim, and human instinct is a very beautiful thing, and I rely on my clairvoyance and my clairsentient skills and my intuition, which every single person has. And so a lot of different body twitches and what have you are kind of leaving my body today. I have Asperger's, can't remember if I said that already, and seizures. That the seizures sometimes are just they're weird, they're like body tics. And today when I got home, just trying to dispel a PTSD moment where I was triggered and got some downloads, and it was bizarre, that to be able to stand in the observer mode and not get involved in it. However, my nervous system still has to carry my body through that. And I was on feet and needing to, process it. And it reprogrammed something for me today. And so I was glad that I had found the feathers already before that incident happened. That was a very good thing because it helped me to cope with that. I haven't been triggered like that in quite some time in physicality. I've been triggered in my emotional space and my spiritual space with energy that's been very, and not so much out in person. So that was wild. That what the heck, is that? And it was definitely, triggering. So anyhow, I said I was going to shut up and then I didn't. So thank you very much for visiting the channel. And I hope to see you again sometime in the future, kind of deciding what topics that I'd like to do, where I'd like to go, and had thought that, I just wouldn't put out any more video for, would just maybe even dump the channel. I wasn't sure, I'm looking for my path just like everybody else. And, first thing I did when I started walking out the door today, within the first 20 minutes, I found those 3 feathers. And if they couldn't be more representative of the polar opposites and that blending in the middle of what we're all trying to reach, which is balance. Balance is where the ultimate happiness and joy for me is. It's not going to be found in either one of the extremes, because you can't live on either one of those extremes. No, I can't. I mean, and I'm not even going to try, because I know that balance is where that happens for all of us. So thank you again for visiting the channel. I hope you have a great day, whatever day part of the day you're in, and get on in your own divinity, you're in your own skin, and find your divine, because your divine is absolutely fine, and it's waiting for you to get in there and find that pristine, glorious place where you can appreciate your own bird-like wisdom, or whatever metaphor you want to. Pick your favorite animal and go with it, and call it a power animal, and then run with it and start talking to that, because the feather wisdom, whatever symbolism you need to use or want to use it. Just speak to it with good, honest, truthful intention, and just wait for it. It'll come. Practice it more and more and more, and it'll come. I promise you. If it doesn't, leave me a comment and let me know how it didn't come. And then I bet you it'll come to you right after that. Thank you again, and take care, friends. We'll see you again next time.